Hey, what's up guys? So here we are back again for more of the Python BACnet Stacks playground. So what we're learning here is a little bit about Python and then also the BACnet network stacks for building automation. Like I've said before, who this course is before is HVAC controls technicians, field technicians, or anyone in the IoT industry that's like interested in scraping data from building automation BACnet systems. And like this is not an advanced networking course because BACnet can get very deep into networking. It's a UDP protocol. It's not that easy to work with. When it doesn't work, it can be very challenging to troubleshoot. And then this also is not a deep dive into the BACnet protocol, where a lot of people that are developers can they're like on the bytes on the wire level of parsing BACnet messages on the wire. So that's like an advanced network programming topic. So we're just studying simple applications, mostly for HVAC control purposes. So like what people are doing in building automation will kind of replicate simple algorithms or applications with Python and BACnet scripts to adjust set points, interact with HVAC systems. So this coursework is all developed by AI. There's a lot of topic right now that you don't need to study computer science or any of the theory of computer science theory, because AI does that all for you now. But I have a hard time like believing that. Like I think people will only be better, faster, stronger studying theory or having some theory. You know, if you're like a building automation technician that's just, you know, I'm a building automation technician background, but I took this course on edX that might be like a computer science 101 course freshman year, maybe if you took a computer science degree. And it's awesome. I'm glad I even did that before AI came around. But I think that's kind of like an important skill set to have a little bit, that you play around with Python, you get used to it, or else if you don't, I don't know. That's my own opinion. Is I think it'll make you better. All right, so here we are. So like BAC0, BACpipes 3, that's our BACnet stacks that we'll be using. We did part 1 already of doing the BAC0 app that reads writes and write releases to a BACnet device, which we tested on my test bench, referenced the earlier videos for that. And then right now we're in part 2, and then our vibe code checkpoint will be a BAC0 app that collects data, saves the data to a CSV file, and then rotates the file once per day. So it's pretty much a continuation from here, except that we don't need to do a write or write release, and then this is just a single BACnet read, and then we might try and do a read multiple. Okay, so this was our vibe code app 1. These were all of our single reads and writes features that we were doing. So to do, we also did a whois right here too. So yeah, to do all of this, reference the earlier videos, but this is basically the end product, where we had two writes. A write for the present value of 88 at priority 10, and then we released that priority 10 override on our BACnet device and checked it with our BACnet scanner tool on the older videos, and then we read the values just to make sure they took. So right now we could go to a save. I'm going to save this as a new Python file as Python vibe code app 2. And we'll just modify it. So we were so like one thing I wanted to look at, so this was just a dot read, and then this seemed kind of funny to me. I haven't used BAC0 for a while, where there's this underscore dot write dot underscore write, and then having ChatGPT investigate a little bit what that was like on the source code, feeding BAC0 into ChatGPT. A read is an async method, which we talked about. Then so is this ._write async method. So this is like a background task. Not quite sure what just a plain write is, but we're using the _write. So maybe for whatever we're using this for, the async method, just recommend using this. Always use the write. So I'm kind of curious now, if we go to GitHub BAC0, okay, so here's BAC0, and then we can just download the zip file from GitHub of all of the source code. And then if I might just upload this to ChatGPT. So another thing you can do in here too is kind of get into the source code directory, and then I'm kind of curious just to type in read multiple. Read property. Oh, here's read multiple. Alright, so this is something in here about how to read multiple. So this should be the method that we'll be using again. BAC0 has like a lot of features built into it. It's pretty cool. You can do stuff with Excel files and plot and everything, but I think for us it might just be just a read and write release. So let's just see. So I'm just going to tell I don't know what this is, device core. Maybe I'll just keep it going back. Read multiple, discover device. I don't know what this is. You should be able to do a read multiple because the underlying backpipes library also does. So it looks like there's some mixins, read mixin, poll. So maybe this is where we need to go. Read property multiple. Alright, so let's just see if we can. This is on line 425. So I might just copy this, just say on line 425, the read prop, and line 425 of this py file inside the directory, whoops, how to use read multiple. Oops, sorry guys. So here's our Vibe Code 2 app. I want to retrofit this code base for an RPM. So this is like a read multiple request, I think sometimes people say. BACnet. Help, please. Okay. So while ChatGPT mulls over this information of the source code, which is pretty cool feature, I do this a bit. It's just wonder why I was on. You could just download the source code with a zip and then upload it to ChatGPT, and it can just you know, in its little sandbox environment or whatever it does through the chat interface, it'll just be you know, looping over all the files in there, and it can help us. All right, so we're on our theory lecture. We're kind of get into day 8 for loops and range. Maybe we could just start on this right away. It might take a little while for ChatGPT to chug away on our request. So our goal is to learn how to iterate over a sequence of using for loops to generate a sequence of numbers with a range function. By the end of this lesson, you'll be comfortable with looping through lists, strings, and ranges, and using the enumerate function to access both the index and the value. In Python, for statements iterates over the items of any sequence, such as a list or string. In the tutorial, a for loop prints each word and its length from a list. The built-in range function returns an iterable sequence of numbers which can be used in loops. The range n produces numbers from 0 up but not including n. You can provide a start and step sequence for the loop, for the range loop. So if we talked about this before, if we have a list, that's our data structure with 3 strings in it for apple, banana, cherry, and then if you can see for fruit in fruits, and then it'll print one of these individually. Kind of cool. So you could do for character in BACnet. That's kind of cool. I never used that before, but like a string, remember, is a data structure, kind of like a list, where that's a data. There's data in there. There's characters. So for character in BACnet, it'll print each character. And then a range loop is we'll just do like a range of requests. So like for five times, starting at 0, print the, it'll do once for every integer in the range. And this is start, stop, and step. And then this is something I don't use very often, but it's really powerful, is the enumerate function. So that does something kind of similar to this, but for index and value, and enumerate through VAV AHU boiler, and then this will give an index. So this would be index 0, VAV, index 1, AHU, index 2 is the boiler. And then you can also do, it looks like they're doing here, this is like, almost looks like a little algorithm. So like we have defining a variable called total, and then for n in range from 1 to 6, keep adding this number and then print the total. Maybe we'll play around with that. So just do Python script lesson. Kind of interesting. I've never used that before. Passing in the sum to the range. That can be pretty powerful, but also kind of confusing. So this is easier for me to look at. So we start with a total of 0 as a variable, and then through we could even print n, and then it's going to add each one of these. It'll keep this here, and it'll keep on adding to that. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm still kind of curious, how did it get the value of 15 out of that? Because I can see it's adding 1, 2, 3, lower than up to 15 at the end. If we did, I think we could do the same thing. Oops. So if we went through here, I guess it's just adding. So it keeps on adding the value of n to the number. So then that's how we get the total. So it's like a little algorithm. So if we add all these numbers up, that's how you get 10. Kind of fun. why this matters. Iterative over sequences let you perform operations on each element in a collection, vital tasks for printing sensor names, computing average temperatures, or generalized tables. The range function gives you control over numeric loops and used in many algorithms. So here's just a little enumerate sequence, a range sequence, a character. So like if you were doing like really fancy algorithms, let's say in demand response, which I have played around with a little bit in research, is that you could get like a time that you need your demand response to execute. Maybe your BACnet overriding all of the zone temperature set points or the chiller off at some period of time in the building. So you would use like little loops like this to kind of come up with your calculation of like, when do you think that this needs to execute? So that's kind of where you'd kind of use this kind of stuff. So maybe for today, I'll just kind of get our micro exercise out of the way, and then let's see what ChatGPT calls this thing to do. So, okay, so it's writing. I don't know what it's doing here, but let's just see. Okay, so it has, here's a read multiple request. All right, so maybe we'll try this out tomorrow. What should we do? Should we try it a little bit today? Maybe we could try it today. So I might delete the stuff. So where is it coming up with? So here's a read multiple request. I don't think I got that right. So if we do Python BACnet vibe code app 2, what's it gonna do? Is it gonna error out, or is it going to well, that's kind of cool. It did actually put something together. So okay, so it is it did a read multiple request for, that's kind of wild. So like our previous script, like we're only doing present value, but like when our first script that we made with BAC0, we did the description and the units on like one of the first two videos. So what ChatGPT did is it did present value, description, and units, and then completed it in one request. It's a really interesting way that it did that. I'm just going to delete some of the comments here. So maybe we'll play around with this a little bit. So RPM result, and you see that, like how it that returned a list. So this is like the same thing that we're studying in our theory lectures of like, here's a list, and then Python, you can mix the data types. So this is a float, that's a string. This is actually something to do with backpipes under the hood of backpipes world right here in a Python object. But that's a list, and like what it's doing is it's iterating over that over our list data structure here, and it's pulling that out so you can print it all. So I don't see where it printed the maybe we'll work with this. So we're kind of studying how to loop through these data structures like this. So this will be what we'll play around with this week. And the thing that I wanted to do is I just want to say on the who is how to limit high and low BACnet instance IDs. So if you remember when we did the BACnet scan tool, I'll just pull that up here because the Python script stopped running. We can do this too. So when we did this, I selected the IP address of my computer. This is my Windows computer here running this, my NIC card address. And then if I wanted to only do just a range of devices, so BACnet supports a range of devices through, it's like 3 million something. There's some upper limit to this number. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's in like 300,000 or 3 million, so you can do a lot for that. But if you do like this, I'm just making up some numbers here for what I set up my test bench for. So if you remember, like this tool right now is sending out a whois for this range of BACnet instance IDs of devices out there, and then these are responding. Oh cool, my little application is also coming up. So right now these devices are responding as they're responding through this range. So this is what we'll try and input in Python in our whois. And then these remember are BACnet instance IDs. So this is a virtual address set up by the technician or whoever made the BACnet device and set it up on the operations technology network. And these all need to be unique in the building on the subnet. So if all these BACnet devices are on the same subnet, these all have to be unique, or else you'll have problems. It won't work because you'll have multiple devices responding. Okay, cool. So if let's just copy this and then into our whois right here. So this is what I wanted to enhance our code. So we did a 1 right here, and then we did a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 0, 0. Same thing we fat fingered in with the BACnet scanner. And then because I closed out of my BACnet scanner, you have to completely exit out of it in Windows to run, because you can't run multiple BACnet applications on one operating system. So here we go. Let's see if this works, just to make sure. Okay, cool. So that worked. So we have the same results as our BACnet scan tool with a high and low limit. So where I think like this is useful is like if there's a really, really big BACnet network with like hundreds of devices out there, and you don't need hundreds of devices all stopping what they're doing to respond to your request, you can implement a high and low limit if you only need just a small subset, a range of device IDs. And then also if there's a lot of old buildings out there where some of these devices are not BACnet over IP, they're BACnet over a twisted, over a 2-wire network called master-slave token pass, BACnet over MSTP. So that's a lot. It's an older, cheaper technology, RS-45 it's called, like Modbus over RTU is a RS-45 network where it's a 2-wire twisted pair network. It's not Ethernet based. It's not, so BACnet can also run over that, but it's very slow protocol. And if there's tons of devices on really old MSTP networks, doing lots of these can really bog down old MSTP networks. Maybe BACnet over IP, you probably wouldn't have to worry about it very much, but And this is also something you'd only do in the setup of a building automation system. So like when the building automation person is building the building automation system, they're doing whois commands to make sure all of the devices for the air handling unit, for the chiller, for the boiler, that they're all coming to life, they're all coming online. And then once they're online and integrated into the supervisory controller, then you typically never perform a BACnet whois, because you don't need to. You have all your devices accounted for in the HVAC, and this is a command where it's pretty much only in setup. And same thing in IoT. Once you discover all of your devices through a global BACnet whois, you really don't need to do this command anymore, and you shouldn't either, because it's a global request where every device stops what it's doing and it'll respond to the whois. So if someone is doing whois every minute, every 60 seconds, every 15 minutes, that's going to congest the network. It could cause problems. Hopefully not make the HVAC system, shut down in the building, but you really shouldn't be using this beyond the setup of building automation and IoT. And if you're doing something funny with, like, maybe you're doing something cybersecurity related where you're checking that all devices are healthy, you really don't need to do this more than once an hour. That's my own personal opinion on that, which I'm open for discussion. So, okay, so we'll pick up with this. We'll pick up with this the next couple days, but it's pretty cool. I can see we just have to work on parsing our data from here, from our little list. So, all right, so we have a start to our vibe code app 2, which will be what we're working on this week. Okay, so thank you, ChatGPT. That helped quite a bit. Yeah, so we're well on our way for our vibe code checkpoint 2, which will be something that collects data, saves it to a CSV file, and then rotates log files once per day. That'll be really easy to do the CSV file and log rotating. AI can really expedite helping how to do that. Once we just perform our BACnet read multiple works, that'll be the tricky part, which we're well on our way of getting our checkpoint 2 vibe code app done. Okay, so let's do our micro exercises. These are going to get harder and harder, I think, so I'll definitely have to be cutting these videos down. So see if we can do this without cheating with AI. Write a loop that prints numbers from 10 to 1, 10 down to 1 using the range. Okay, so I might just mass comment out my code here. So if I do for I in range, okay, shoot. So like the range, I might go back to this was our sequence. I can't remember what that was. So like the range does, I think this might be the step, start, stop, and step. So if we do our start at 10, stop at 1, by a value of -1, I think. Let's see if that works. Print I. So like you can stick any number in here. You could stick B. You could stick an like underscore character, but people kind of use in the algorithms like an I is very common, and then also a J. So like once we do more complicated algorithms, it'll be for I and J. It's just like something that maybe computer science school uses. Whoops. Okay, started the wrong script. you guys remember too, like through your terminal here, just do new terminal. I'm just doing a Python script lesson. Okay, so I think that worked. Write a loop that prints the numbers 10 down to 1. So it looks like 10 went down to, so maybe I have to do this. 10 down to 1 using the range. Done. Given a list of temperatures, use a for loop to compute the average. Okay. So if we just do temps equals a list, I'm just fat fingering in some temps here. Might be like astronomically high temps. Maybe you're working in the nuclear business. I don't know. Okay, so if we did, we wouldn't see that in HVAC, or else it would be boiling water. So we could do let me see. So we did, let me say total equal to 0. So for I in range length temps print temps index at I. Okay, so this is our range function again, and then it should be, this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, the length of our list, and then we'll print those at every index. So that's something we've kind of learned, all these concepts. All right, so that seemed to, maybe I'll change one of these so it's slightly different number. Printed each one of those numbers, so we could do total plus equals temps I. So that's just going to add it's going to add them all up. You could also do total equals total plus temps index I. So it's just an abbreviated way of doing that. You can also do divide, multiple, subtract. Maybe we'll just do this way because it's almost a little bit easier to understand. So we could do then print the total. I'm going to get rid of this print. 1,799. So then if we want to do the average, so we would just do divided by length of temps. That's our average. And then you could even add more numbers in here. Yeah. So the beauty about this is like our little algorithm here. This can adjust, and then there's nothing hard-coded, fat-fingered for the length to compute the average. 610. Okay, so that's done. Enumerate. Use enumerate over the list of this and print each value, each direction, starting at index 0. Okay, so I don't use the enumerate very often. I might even just cheat and use this code down here. say directions. Yeah, I can do this down here, directions. Direction. I think I passed that already. So like this is where it's kind of like a range loop, but you can also start at an index. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, I think. So use the enumerate function to loop over a list and print each direction starting with index 1. Using to loop over and print each direction starting at index 1. I'm gonna actually check ChatGPT if this is right. I think it's right, but just making sure. I'm sure we'll be doing quite a bit of this. Alright, a little bit longer of a video today, but is what it is. I just want to see what this is. Create a list of numbers between 2 and 20 inclusive using the range and print the list. So think about that. Alright, I might have so much past context in here that takes a little slow. Oh, okay, so this was nested list. Maybe I shouldn't have recycled that. Sorry about that. So we'll get into that later. That's like a list inside of a list. Nested list. Ah, okay, so that looks a little bit better. Still kind of confusing though. I just wouldn't really use that very much. Bye. Okay, create a list of numbers between 2 and 20 inclusive using the range function and print the list. Okay, so for I in range, start at 2. No, this is step. Okay, look at this here. So even VS Code has a little helper in here. So if you look right here, remember install your Python extensions for VS Code. So start, stop, step. So start is 2. We're gonna stop at 20 and step. Oh, I think I know what we're wanting it to do. So so we have to create an empty list. Empty list equals just some brackets like that. That's an empty list. So we can say empty list dot append I print empty list. Almost. So it looks like we just have to do one more. Okay, so this is, I think, what I was asking for. So what we did is we created an empty list, and then our little for loop, our range loop here, added all those values to the list. Pretty cool. And then we can just show that it did that the computer did what it was supposed to do. So I think we're done for today, guys, and then tomorrow we can keep working on our vibe coding app. We did get the BACnet request multiple to work, and then this is kind of confusing the way this is really confusing, the way that how to use this, but until then, we'll keep playing around with it. Have a great day, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow.